2025, the year Taylor dropped another album, aliens maybe showed up. Oh, and China made BL history with Desire the series by locking its leads into 3-year couple contracts. Yeah, we didn't have that on our bingo cards either. And get this isn't even just a normal BL. No high school crushes, no accidental roommate tropes, nope. This is a full-blown, pheromone-dripping, hierarchy-shattering Omegaverse. What's there to lose? First, let's dive into the show itself, the cast, the world, and the spicy fantasy universe that comes with its own built-in controversy. And then, the question every BL fan is whisper-screaming right now. Is this the turning point for Chinese BL, or the spark that triggers an even harsher wave of censorship crackdowns from the government? We're talking controversies inside the controversies. Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Blush. This is where we unpack boys' love dramas like their messy group chats. If you're new here, hit subscribe because we get into all of the tea, all of the time. Respectfully, of course. And before we dive into today's Omegaverse-shaped chaos, you may want a VPN because listen, if you're watching BL in 2025 without a VPN, you're missing out. Platforms love to region lock the good stuff, but with NordVPN, you can switch your virtual location faster than a BL lead switches from enemies to lovers. That means access to Gaga Lala, Aishi, Global, and whatever platform China tries to snatch Desire off of next. Plus, it keeps your browsing private, which, let's be honest, is useful when you're googling what the hell is Omegaverse at 2 a.m. Link and deal in the pinned comment. Alright, let's start off mild. So, what even is Desire the series? On the surface, it's a fantasy BL, but with the Omegaverse twist. The story takes place in a world reshaped by a strange virus that split humanity into 3 groups, Alpha, Betas, and Omegas, plus a rare 4th category called Enigmas. Alphas are dominant, Omegas are fertile and go into heat. Betas are kind of the normal middle ground, and Enigmas are super rare people who can basically tame alphas. Our main lead, Hua Yang, is one of those rare Enigmas, but to hide his secret, he pretends to be an Omega. Enter CEO Sheng Xiaoyu, who just happens to be a powerful alpha. What starts as a game of disguise and seduction spirals into a messy entanglement of identity, power struggles, and oh yeah, an unplanned pregnancy. And because this is a BL, of course there's a second couple, Gao Tu, an Omega posing as a Beta, and his love interest Shen Wenlang. So basically, everyone's lying about who they really are, everyone's catching feelings, and the show gives you 16 episodes of power play, angst, and longing stares with just enough spice to keep fans feral. And I mean, if you've seen that last episode, there was spice. Now, let's talk Omegaverse, because this trope isn't just spicy, it's divisive. On one hand, fans are losing their minds. The Omegaverse gives you high-stakes drama, pheromone-dripping tension, alpha power plays, Omega vulnerability, and those forbidden bonds that turns even a glance into fanfic fuel. For people who've lived on Wattpad or AO3, seeing it in a live-action drama feels like Christmas came early. It's messy, it's addictive, and it's the kind of trope that makes the fandom literally feral. Up until now, the closest we've really gotten to a live-action Omegaverse BL was Thailand's Pit Babe, and even that sparked rumors that the trope would get quietly axed by season 2. In the end, it wasn't removed, but it was more like a sprinkle of ABO seasoning than a full meal, just hinted at here and there without diving into the full pheromone and power hierarchy chaos. That's what makes Desire such a big deal. It's not teasing Omegaverse, it's going all in. Disguises, heats, unplanned pregnancy, the whole 9 yards. Basically, what Thailand tested in tiny doses, China just served as the main course, which is insane, but for some reason makes sense. Up until now, Omegaverse had been way too spicy / problematic for most Asian BL studios to touch. The trope thrived in fanfic and novels. Love Shuttle is like Omegaverse meets quirky workplace comedy, but somehow totally addictive. This one, that I can't really pronounce, is more emotionally complex, like Are They Okay levels. And Love is an Illusion even got translated and printed. Yeah, that's the fandom popping. So while Desire is making that BL drama history, the Omegaverse has already been living rent-free in the fandom for years. And here's something that makes Desire even wilder. The person behind it isn't just some random screenwriter hired by a studio. Desire started as a BL web novel written by Nong Jian, and she didn't just sell the rights and walk away. She's credited as the screenwriter, producer, and even director of the drama, which means this adaptation didn't just get watered down or sanitized the way a lot of BLs in China usually usually do. It's straight up from the source, an author who knew exactly what kind of Omegaverse story she wanted to tell and somehow got the backing to make it happen. Now, as much as people are frothing at the mouth over ABO Desire, we've got to talk about the other side of the Omegaverse coin, because this trope isn't just spicy, it's messy, and not the good kind of messy. First being power and consent issues. Alphas are dominant, Omegas are submissive, and that dynamic often leans into forced situations. Heats, ruts, pheromones, they're basically biological plot devices that can override consent. That's why critics argue the Omegaverse sometimes romanticizes coercion. And then we have the gender stereotypes, of course, which are basically on steroids. Omegas are often portrayed as feminine and get reduced to baby-making roles. Alphas, obviously they're coded masculine, are powerful leaders. Betas are basically background NPCs, and people say it reinforces outdated gender roles instead of subverting them. And then of course, male pregnancy, which is a core part of a lot of Omegaverse stories. Some fans love the angsty drama of it, while others see it as fetishizing queer relationships or reducing them to biology. And here's the thing, a lot of these issues, they already exist in normal BLs. Power imbalances, questionable consent, gender stereotyping, etc. We've all seen these debates play out 100 times, but the Omegaverse takes those exact problems and cranks them up to 11. It's like BL controversies on steroids, more power gaps, more biological excuses, and way more for fans to fight about online. So you've got two camps, one that says the Omegaverse is creative, daring, and gives us new ways to explore power, identity, and queerness, and another that says nope, it's basically dystopian gender essentialism with pheromones. And now China's first official BL couple, supposedly, is the guinea pig for this entire debate. And if fans are already divided on whether the Omegaverse is groundbreaking or problematic, imagine what the Chinese regulators were thinking. Because China doesn't exactly have a chill track record when it comes to BL. Remember Addicted back in 2016? It was pulled off the air mid-season because the leads were, shocker, too gay. Since then, BL in China usually gets passed off as brotherhood, bromance, or my personal favorite, deep friendship. So for Desire to show up dripping in Omegaverse chaos, yeah, the censors weren't going to let that slide. By late July, just a couple weeks after the premiere, it was announced that Youku International, WeTV International, and iQIYI International had all halted streaming the show at the direction of authorities. It looked like history was repeating itself. Another groundbreaking BL gone too soon. And here's the twist. While the big Chinese-owned platforms pulled the plug, the show never actually disappeared on international services like Gagulala, Viki, KKTV, and others. They kept streaming it as usual. So while mainland audiences were shoved back into bromance purgatory, international fans were still feasting on the full Omegaverse drama. And let's be real, as we saw with Revenge Love, which never actually touched a single mainland platform, but somehow had the entire country chasing its leads, like literally chasing them. Yeah, we know those VPNs are working overtime. I have a video covering that entire thing on Revenge Love if you're curious. And then came the bombshell. On August 9th, news broke that the two lead pairings, along with a secondary pairing, had signed 3-year contracts, not for bromance, not for fan service, for an official BL couple. Suddenly, even if the show itself was getting pulled from Chinese-linked platforms, its actors were cemented as China's first ever contracted BL pairs. The irony was peak drama. The Xingqiu fandom already had an official name, Star Cups, and even a fandom color, Galaxy Purple. Normally that would be cause for a full-on fandom party, but with the show already yanked from Chinese platforms, a lot of people are treating it more like a wait-and-see situation. Nobody wants to invest their whole heart into a ship that might get sunk by regulators any second. And it's not paranoia for nothing. Let's not forget that BL writers in China have literally been arrested before. The most infamous case was back in 2018 when a Danmei actor was sentenced to over 10 years in prison for writing a BL novel that censors deemed obscene. 10 years for a book. So yeah, it's no wonder fans are hesitant to throw confetti over Star Cups and their purple fandom color, because when the stakes are that high, celebrating too openly can feel like painting a target on your back. Okay, I'm sorry to get you guys hyped. I also fell for it, but perhaps this CP pairing is not real. Yeah, word on the street is that the so-called 3-year BL couple contract might not actually exist. Turns out this might have been a case of fandom telephone, one translation, one juicy rumor, and suddenly everyone's convinced that Xingqiu are China's first official BL pairing. Don't get me wrong, the idea fits the drama of it all perfectly. Desire gets pulled, the actors rise from the ashes as a BL couple. Peak cinema. But when you dig a little deeper, the receipts are looking a little fuzzy, and the last thing I want is to get you guys hyped for something huge without without proper receipts. Perhaps the actors did sign contracts, and maybe even for 3 years, but it could have had nothing to do with specifically CP-type partnerships. Because let's break down what a 3-year BL contract would actually look like, because this isn't just some handshake and a selfie. Let's use Thailand, where CP culture has been thriving for years. These contracts usually mean the actors are marketed as a package deal. Joint interviews, brand endorsements, fan meets, even OSTs where they sing together. Basically, they become a ready-made ship that studios can monetize across dramas, music, and merch. But, and here's the big but, in China, things don't work like that. Even when Thai CPs tour there, they can't market it as a BL event. They often go individually, include zero shipping language, no couple branding, and if they do go together, sometimes they're literally standing on opposite ends of the room so it doesn't look like they're being sold as a pair. So what exactly would that look like for our Desire CPs? Honestly, no one knows, but I'm afraid this news, real or fake, may have just thrown gasoline onto an already heated topic. Maybe it's a good way to see how the censorship authorities react to this news if it were to actually happen. Don't get too disappointed, because there has been another development, and we actually have video proof of this one. The second lead couple from Revenge Love recently held a fan meet that looked almost identical to your typical BL fan meet you'd see in Thailand or Korea. On the surface, the video looks normal. It's the kind of event that would have been unthinkable even a year or two ago. With all this going on, the real kicker is that while China is yanking Desire off its own platforms, it's also heavily investing in Thai BL. WeTV, which is owned by Tencent, aka one of the biggest conglomerates in China, has poured serious money into distributing and co-producing Thai BLs. So on one hand, the regulators are clutching their pearls over Desire, but on the other, Chinese money is fueling the very BL boom coming out of Thailand. Take Top Form for example. It's a WeTV original, which means Tencent, one of the biggest Chinese conglomerates, literally bankrolled it. So yeah, Chinese regulators are busy yanking Desire off platforms at home, but at the same time, it's their own corporate giant investing in BL abroad, adapting Japanese manga into Thai dramas, and cashing in on the global fandom. This is peak irony. And on this side of the world anyways, the moneymakers are the ones who end up being the policymakers. If Tencent and companies like it keep raking in profits from BL abroad, at some point it's going to get harder and harder to justify censoring it at home. So Desire isn't just a drama, it's a test case in whether China will keep pretending BL is taboo or finally admit it's one of the most profitable exports in the region. I talk a lot more about China's investment into Thai BL, including a GMM-TV partnership, in this Top Form video if you're curious. So if you're confused, join the party. We all are. China hasn't suddenly legalized queer media. Everyone's just sort of gambling because there's no neat Article 22 bans gay shows. Instead, it's this vague morality clause that censors can pull out whenever they want. I guess shows are getting a bit bolder in producing it in ways they hope they can pass censors, or making deals so international audiences get the real thing. But because the rules are so vague and political winds shift, every project is a risk. That's why ABO Desire was hyped as groundbreaking and then immediately pulled from some platforms a few weeks later. Let's hope we didn't breathe the wrong way by mistake and are able to finish the series that honestly sparked many firsts for the BL industry in China. What are your thoughts on all this? Let me know below.